All right, everyone. I think that's a good time. Why don't we go ahead and get started? Hey, I just want to say hi to everyone that's taking the time to join. Thanks a lot for being with us here today on another USA Technologies webinar. I'm Adrian Austin, Director of Product and Partner Marketing here at USA Technologies. And today we're going to be discussing office coffee service, particularly about new challenges that have surfaced in the wake of COVID in 2020, and really more importantly, how businesses can be pivoting to address some of these challenges, and really how some businesses have already done so. So before we get started, I wanted to give some basic guidance on the webinar tools that we're going to be using today. So you'll notice on the right-hand side of your screen, in the Go to Webinar pop-up box, there's a few different drop-down menus. Now, one of those drop-down menus is going to be the questions box. Here, throughout the presentation, if you have any questions for our presenters or for our moderators, feel free to type that in at any time and enter it in. We're going to be collecting those throughout the whole presentation and then having a Q&A section right at the end. And we'll be going through as many of those as you can. So anytime throughout we're talking, don't worry, toss it in. It doesn't interrupt our presentation. So let's get this show on the road. And I wanted to start off by giving a few introductions for our speakers today. So the first one up, if you've attended any of our webinars before, you might have seen his familiar face, and that's Duncan Smith. So Duncan Smith is the president and COO at All Star Services, Inc., based in Port Huron, Michigan. All Star as a company is a family-owned and operated organization, and Duncan represents the third generation in that family-owned business to continue working there. He's been with the company over 13 years after graduating from the University of Michigan with an undergraduate degree in economics and a master's degree in accounting. In 2008, Duncan led an early adoption of telemetry, dynamic scheduling, pre-kitting, and cashless, all at All Star. And he continues to use this technology and more to push All Star to be an industry leader in efficiency in the space. Duncan, thanks again for joining us and being here.
Adrian, thanks for having me. I appreciate the introduction.
Next up is Susan Butler. So if you've had any implementation with Seed Services, you might have also had an introduction with Susan. But Susan works here in our client solutions management team. She has over 20 years of industry experience implementing software solutions for both vending and OCS companies. She's joined at USAT/Cantaloupe Systems team back in 2014 and has been on the client solutions management team for the past 5 years. Susan finds great satisfaction in her role as a CSM and seeing clients successfully implement and manage their companies with Seed solutions on an everyday basis. Originally from Minnesota, Susan is currently working from Atlanta, Georgia. In her spare time, she sings with her jazz trio, Easy Living, in the Atlanta metro area. Susan, thanks again for being here.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Next up is Alex Buck. Alex Buck actually came to USA Technologies relatively recently in 2019 after a 10-year career at PepsiCo. He has held various sales and management roles in the food service and vending organization at both Pepsi and Frito-Lay. And he continues consulting with customers to help them find a positive impact on their business through both efficiency and profitability. Alex is a true Coloradan, in his own words, both born and raised in Denver metro area, where he resides today with his wife and 3 kids. Alex, thanks for being a presenter with us.
Thanks, Adrian. Happy to be here.
And then a quick note about myself. Like I said, I'm Adrian Austin. I joined the convenience services industry almost 3 years ago. Actually, I think 3 years ago now, since I think I had my work anniversary this last week, with a background in product management, actually in the semiconductor industry. But at USAT, I focus on bringing new products and features to launch and finding new partners that USAT can continue to work with. And most relevantly today, I organize our webinars and try to find people a lot more interesting and knowledgeable and talented than myself to speak with them today. So, but that's enough from me on the introductions. Oh, that's right. So, and one more thing that we have here is a quick introduction on All Star Services, which is Duncan's company. both a Michigan-owned and family-operated organization. All-Star was started in 1963. Today, All-Star operates over 2,000 vending machines, over 21 routes, with the majority of those routes being a combination of vending, micro markets, and OCS locations. And specifically for today, we're talking about office coffee service. OCS takes up a substantial amount of All-Star's footprint, and today they're servicing 410 delivery points, which is continuing to grow as well. So, okay, last note for me, and then we can get into the interesting part of the conversation and hear from our presenters, which is our agenda. So we're going to be starting off and talking about, like I said, the new challenges that we are seeing in the post-COVID environment. And then we're going to be jumping into really what the state of the industry is today with OCS and how, operations have changed, and hey, maybe there's some different ways that, efficiencies can be found. The third section there is going to be the tips for 2020. So if we're looking at those new challenges, what are some of the ways that operators can hurdle over theirs and still thrive? And then after that, we're going to be getting into a speed delivery demo, where we can talk about some ways that OCS operators can use some of the functions and features in a positive way. And then lastly, we'll do a quick takeaways recap and then jump into Q&A. And with that, that's enough for me. I will hand it over to Susan Butler to kick things off with our OCS challenges.
Okay, thank you, Adrian. Okay, so yeah, challenges in OCS are changing. First, we're going to talk just a few minutes about ones that existed pre-COVID and still exist, and then we will talk about new challenges. Let's see if I can get this to. Okay, Adrian, it's not changing with me hitting the right button.
Why don't you go down and try clicking the lower left arrow down here? Yeah, there we go, and to the right.
Okay, and to the right.
Yeah,
no, right. Thank you very much.
Right, there we go.
Got it. Okay, great. So first off, speaking of traditional challenges, paper invoice management can be a big challenge. Typically, that paper flow will include providing drivers and the warehouse with orders to load the trucks. Then once they're out on the route, the driver is going to need to verify his delivered quantities, make his edits if needed, then communicate those changes back to the office to ensure that we send correct invoices out. Now, when you have to manage multiple invoices at single locations, that can also add to the difficulty. When scheduling routes, you may need to determine whether it's best to use a dedicated OCS route or a mixed route. And if you are using mixed, now is possibility it becomes a challenge to organize that route and keep it simple for the drivers to run. When you're operating two different systems, say if you have one for traditional vending and also one for the OCS business, we run into things like reconciling warehouse inventory, and how reporting on your entire company can become fairly complex. We all know those bulky handhelds. Also, drivers having to switch between two handhelds when they're on separate systems can be an issue. And for those that are not connected to any sort of OCS management system, when they're taking orders that are not connected, any change that occurs out in the field can double up on the work, when both your driver and your office need to touch it to record the adjustments. So those are some of the things that we have always been dealing with. Let's talk about some new challenges due to the times. Some of these are likely to occur, likely to include new sanitation requirements in your own warehouse, such as providing PPE, checking temperatures, possibly monitoring, maintaining social distancing, new cleaning policies, and the unfortunate situation of business closures. Everyone I know is experiencing customer and revenue loss due to building closures. And that means fewer customers to service, so fewer drivers to service them. I'd like to continue discussing this, but I would like to pull Duncan in at this point. Duncan, can we get your perspective here? Would you give us some insight on the challenges that you are encountering out at All-Star since all this COVID stuff?
Yeah, Sue, that's I'll echo what you're starting out with here with the new sanitation requirements. Our clients want to know that one, we are taking everything seriously. We are taking every precaution we can with our personnel, with masks, sanitizing machines, and do everything we can to keep them safe as well as our team members safe. And then business closures, we're no different than I think a lot of the folks listening that unfortunately this has caused a lot of ripple in our industry of, clients closing down or cutting way back on their expenditures on their employees, which the fringe benefits that they like to, and that they usually provided were things that we provide through our office coffee service or delivery service, whether it's free coffee or pantry. So either it's reduction in revenue because of expense cuts or complete business closures are continuing to reduce our workforce right now, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, no doubt about that. The are there new things that you are working on? Or are we going to talk about that a little further down? Actually, I think we're going to talk about that a little further down. Yeah, thanks for that, Duncan. Hey, Alex, I'm going to hand this over to you so you can talk about state of the industry with Duncan.
Sounds good. Okay, so I want to kind of just take a minute and first of all say thank you to everybody who's on the call, and wanted to just kind of do a bit of an overview of the state of the industry and provide maybe a snapshot of what has changed and what the industry looks like today. So there was a recent article that Vending Times put out about the state of the industry, and there was a study that was conducted there by the National Coffee Association, provided some good insight and some good data points, just to kind of set a standard here. So some of the figures that they saw were, revenues fell during the height of COVID, close to 40%. A lot of people are working from home. Of the people surveyed, 60% of employed consumers were working from home. Only 17% of that group had previously said they'd worked from home before. However, the benefits are this industry still has plenty of places to grow. 99% of the people who responded to the survey had said that they are coffee drinkers and they drink coffee at home. And they also commented that many of their needs are still unmet in the workplace as far as finding coffee, finding refreshments. 29% said that they do have access to coffee at work, but that means that there's 70%, a little bit more than that, of the population that doesn't have access to coffee or refreshments while at the workplace. And so I think that's a good place to kind of get us started and understand where things are going with the industry. So as we look at kind of how things have changed, obviously, vending, micro markets, and OCS has all been impacted. A lot of what we consider maybe standard OCS business was hit pretty hard with schools and factories. Many are coming back, but just slowly. I think we've seen some really interesting developments within micro markets and other segments of the industry, and I think operators are really looking week to week. Duncan, be curious kind of to get your take on the numbers that I just shared and some of those facts. How has it impacted your business?
Alex, thanks. Yeah, really the numbers you're sharing are pretty spot on for what we're seeing here in southeastern Michigan, at least for All-Star. Our vending is down pre-COVID. Our delivery segment, office coffee, is down from pre-COVID and down about the 40% or so on a week-to-week basis that you shared. But one thing that we've seen that I was kind of surprised by as of recent weeks is that our market segment is actually up a little bit. And I'm not sure what the factor is that's driving that. One thought we had here is that employers are not letting employees leave the site once they are at work, and maybe pushing more people to our markets. But no, it's those numbers are all pretty spot on for what we're seeing at All-Star.
Okay, yeah, certainly some big changes to the industry, and I think there's plenty that we still kind of don't know about what the industry looks like today or how it's going to impact us in the future. Now, you kind of already touched on that there were some changes and different things you guys are doing to kind of fit this new norm. But as you look at kind of some follow-up here, so the National Coffee Association survey did hit on hygiene being a really important piece of it. More cleaning of product, easy to work with, single serve, ready to drink product was something that they had really hit on. Duncan, are those things you guys are using today?
Definitely. We have seen an uptick quite a bit. You mentioned single serve. Bottled water for us is something we've always offered through our office coffee or delivery division. And we are seeing a huge uptick in demand for single use and bottled water. The thing you mentioned with hygiene is just the training for our employees and making it part of the culture that, sanitization is now more important than ever. And our team is trained on properly sanitizing the equipment, when they're done servicing it, but while they're servicing it, making sure they're wearing gloves, wearing masks, and just making sure that we are aware of all of our clients' protocols for entering the facility.
So you guys are taking a really proactive approach to making the right fit for customers and operators, make sure they feel good.
I think we've been pretty good about it. It's been very difficult because we have a tough business to manage as it is. Any operator will tell you that they're managing their own company plus their employees at other people's facilities. So not only do we have our own protocols of wearing masks under roof, wearing gloves when servicing machines, but each of our clients have their own protocols for entering the building now. And when you have a route driver, last year for the last 10 years, that's changed now. And they have to go to the front desk and sign a form or get a temperature scan or can only enter during certain hours. It's made everyone's job more difficult. So one of the things we've done at All-Star is try to make that a little easier for our field team. And for any route driver in the company, they get a sheet every Friday that has updated entry protocol for customers they take care of. And other things we do too with our service technicians, we utilize the SEED service desk, and on any service ticket, we'll actually include the entry protocol on the service ticket to make sure the technician knows what he's got to do to enter the site. Because, at the end of the day, they're people, we're humans, they're going to make mistakes. We're trying to minimize the chance of that and making sure that we're doing everything we can to make sure we're following our own product protocols plus those of our clients.
So that's that custom created kind of delivery protocol tracking sheet that we've got here on this slide. But you mentioned some errors or issues that may come up. So have you addressed that with new training with your staff?
Yes, we've obviously made any new hire when we are hiring, we make kind of the COVID training part of the training process. It's a whole nother module in our training process. And then, I mentioned about misses, and I think you're kind of pointing at how do we, correct and use misses to learn and move forward. And we handle misses very similar to like a safety issue or an accident. There's an accident forms report filled out, and we have just kind of a review with the person that had the issue. And if it's hey, the mask was under the nose type thing, or you were seen on client site without a mask, without wearing gloves, without sanitizing, whatever the concern might be, we'll do a full investigation on it and make sure that we are doing everything we can moving forward, that we're following our own protocols plus those of our clients, like I said.
Well, that certainly has to give them some confidence in you as an operator.
We're trying, man. It's difficult right now because, like I said, everyone has their own individual, criteria to get on site, and when you're on site, so it's we're doing everything we can to try to stay ahead of it.
And one of the things that you said in some of our initial conversations that I loved is, PPE, their property, their rules, and I think that just rings true, especially during this time.
Go ahead. It's one of those things like you were saying. I mean, it is their rules, and there's a lot of sites that have, whether it's other PPE requirements being hard hats, safety glasses, reflective vests, steel toe boots. I mean, the way we look at it is masks and gloves are an extension of that.
Totally, absolutely. And last question before we move on. You talked a little bit about bottled water being a big opportunity. Have you seen a need for PPE, sanitizers, cleaning products to be delivered as part of your OCS deliveries?
Early on, when COVID was first kind of new to all of us, there were a lot of asks from the clients that were still operating, the ones that weren't closed down or temporarily closed down. Lots of apps for masks, gloves, sanitizing, whether it be hand sanitizer, Lysol wipes, that type of stuff. We've seen that demand kind of decrease as of recent with the availability of those products, but we still have them available to our clients if they want to order them through us, because we do want to be that one-stop shop. And if we can reduce the amount of visitors they have on site, I think it only helps us and makes us a stronger supplier.
I think that's key, and thinking outside the box at products or solutions that aren't delivered elsewhere. We're going to take a step on here and move on to kind of what the industry may look like 6 months from now. And I don't think anybody has a crystal ball to understand exactly what it looks like, but there have been many industry experts that kind of have expected a spike in kind of 2021 as offices continue to reopen and people working outside the home start to come back. But Duncan, I'm curious, what factors do you think will make the biggest impact in your business?
Outside of a vaccine, a vaccine's the biggest one to bring people back into the office, working in close proximities. But I mean, at the end of the day, there's I think there's a lot of opportunity for us to kind of change how we're delivering, how we look at our business. An example I can give you is we've taken a play from pizza delivery in restaurants and offered contactless delivery to all of our clients, meaning that they can order whatever they want out of our catalog, and we'll drop it at their doorstep and not enter the building. And we've had quite a few of our then to market clients that were restricting access early on when COVID was brand new take us up on that service. And we were delivering anything from a few cases of coffee to a pallet of water using contactless. So it's just, I just think it's how the way we look at this. There is opportunity here. Yeah, our industry's been hit very hard, especially the OCS and delivery side of our industry, because we are the fringe benefit of a lot of our clients. But finding different and new ways, inventive ways to deliver, I think we can make an opportunity for all of ourselves.
I think you talk about that idea of being a benefit. You see like Google and Amazon types, offering employees stipends to, benefit them. Do you have any customers locally that are doing some sort of a stipend where they could, spend more on refreshments?
We do have a few clients that offer their employees a stipend on their market card through us. As far as the free coffee, free pantry service, that's part of the pantry service was a growing piece of our business before COVID, and that was probably hit the hardest. I think a lot of these, the office locations are trying to figure out what they're going to look like as far as an office, number of employees coming back. So we do see that, and we did offer that up as an option to those clients that do have our market cards in as a, perk to their employees that work through COVID, have dealt with a lot of, the stresses of coming to work and dealing with outside factors, and it has been taken advantage of.
Totally, absolutely. Well, so and Duncan, you've been in the industry for a long time, and you've been through, I'm sure, plenty of ups and downs. I think everyone's confident that at the end of the day, things will come back around. Have you had a similar experience, maybe where businesses had a significant drop in revenues and things have kind of come back around? And can you shed any light on what you have expected based upon that experience?
Overall, just a short answer, yes. I think, obviously, I do have a lot of faith and confidence that our business and our industry will bounce back from this. It's going to look a lot different. Obviously, with working from home being a new norm, and employers taking advantage of having smaller office space or no offices at all, I think it's going to change our business and our industry quite a bit. But if you look at the mid to late 2000s, when we had a pretty significant downturn in our economy, and being in Michigan, we had a very significant downturn in our economy. Things do bounce back, and they bounce back, better than ever. It took a while, but they bounce back, and we find new ways to do things. I see the same coming out of what we're dealing with right now.
Got it. No, that's great, and I think everyone's confident it'll come back. So we're gonna take a moment and kind of dig a little bit deeper into kind of addressing some of these challenges and seeing what specifically, Duncan, you guys have done to address some of these challenges. So You also already had kind of talked about this customer delivery protocol sheet, but customers they're more willing to receive product in different ways, but things are challenging, right? People are asking more of the folks that are making deliveries. So you guys have addressed this through this protocol sheet. Do you want to go into more detail on kind of what you guys do there?
So yeah, when we first got into COVID, and we had some customers were closed down completely, some were open but not allowing us on site, some were open and allowing us on site but with under certain restrictions. It was a lot to track. So we created what we called a master COVID sheet, had a list of all of our clients on there with whether they were open or closed, allowing us on site or not, and the criteria to get on site. And then we would distribute a smaller version of that sheet to each of our employees that had certain account responsibilities for the ones they're responsible for. So they were always, had something to reference when they were in the field before they entered someone's facility. And it really helped us as an office and a management team stay on top of who was open, who wasn't, who's ready for service next week to get things restarted. And also that we know that somewhere in the truck, our driver has a sheet to reference before he enters someone's site.
I'm sure that's made speed to service much faster with all these new protocols, and I'm sure it makes, again, the customers feel more comfortable that you guys are doing something proactively to address some of their challenges.
It's helped considerably, yeah.
So the second thing you had brought up was this ability to offer touchless delivery, and so there's been a number of studies that have been done recently from some industry groups, and again, customers are open to new sources for their drinks, whether it's like direct to consumer sales, subscription services, and this touchless delivery is not far off from what DoorDash and Uber Eats and other delivery companies have done. But you guys have really kind of pioneered it in OCS. So can you give us a peek under the tent about what you guys are doing with touchless delivery?
I mean, really, it's whatever the client wants. I mean, we're willing to deliver product and drop it wherever they want. Like you mentioned, DoorDash and Uber Eats, we really stole from their playbook, knowing people, have concern over human interaction, but they still have that need to have coffee or snacks or water at the facility. We offer the same delivery service. We've had anywhere from a few cases of coffee, like I mentioned earlier, dropped at the doorstep, to opening the back of our truck up and backing up to a dock and having them remove a pallet of water for delivery. And it's really helped open some doors for new lines of revenue for us when we couldn't go on in service markets or on-site in service markets and vending, and just, like I said, helped kind of bridge that gap. And even when these sites have opened back up to allowing our driver on site, they've continued to order bulk product from us via our delivery division.
Okay, no, I think that's super good insight. I think you touched on earlier, traditional OCS, you guys are heavy in schools, heavy in manufacturing, but has touchless and some of the other things you're doing, has it allowed you to target maybe non-traditional OCS, maybe healthcare or non-office type settings, rental facilities, anything else that's maybe outside the box a little bit?
I mean, there hasn't been a whole lot of new sales going on for us, but it definitely is something that we've added to our tools to go out and sell. I mean, because there's something else to offer to current or potential clients.
Okay, no, that's great. I'm going to take a step here and talk about something that's particularly usable for operators using Seed. And so this is an opportunity to kind of add footers or headers on invoices. And so the idea here is that on an invoice, you could add an inventory header or a footer to make a recommendation for a customer to maybe promote a different product or offer a discount. So you could create a custom label, a custom header, and add in special notes. So for instance, if you had excess inventory on a particular product in the warehouse and you needed to move through it, you could add a footer on the invoice, and it would kind of give a customer the opportunity to order at a discounted price. But this is just another way people are thinking outside the box. Susan, do you have operators that have used this setup in Seed?
Yeah, that actually the suggestion, I believe, came from an operator and it passed through our team, and I think it's a good one. it's really easy to set up. It's just under setup underneath the branch, and you can kind of use it like an advanced marketing. As you mentioned, you can use it to advertise specials. I think this particular customer was using it in an attempt to move excess product, stuff that would normally have been leaving out of their warehouse, but because of these times it was, it was in the warehouse, but now it's sitting. So it was a way to alert customers that, hey, I've got this product, give it a special price, because they prefer to move it than have it sit. So just by coming into the into the invoice header and changing it from the default up here, which is your branch address, and phone down to your custom, you see how you have space for that, and also on the footer, and like I say, that shows up on both the statement and on the invoice. So it is a clever idea, good use of the system.
And it does show up on the paperless invoices as well, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
So let's talk paperless invoices real quick here. So if you haven't gone paperless, now is certainly the time. I think there's a number of reasons why you'd want to do it at this point, but certainly the reduction in physical contact points with the customer, less for the driver to manage and get a signature and interact with the customer. It would, if having paper invoices would make it very hard to do a contactless delivery. And you're not having to manage all the files. So if there's a way to go paperless, now is certainly the time to do it. And COVID is a great excuse to push that through. Duncan, any points on paperless invoicing that you guys have just felt like are above and beyond kind of the norm?
Not really, Alex. I mean, we've been doing paperless since it was offered, and I think it's kind of just part of our culture here and what we're doing, and that's a great feature that Seed offers, and we've taken advantage of it since day one. And I mean, for the points you brought up, it's a nice thing to offer to the client in the COVID era that it is contactless, and it's you're not exchanging pieces of paper. And the big thing for us too, that as people turn over at sites, or if the accounts payable person maybe has a leave of absence because of COVID or a layoff, it's a quick email to resend the invoice to someone that's maybe filling in for them or taking their place, versus having to go find the invoice, scan it, and send it. It's a great feature to have that Seed offers.
I think that's a good comment there too. So much turnover, people on vacation, it makes a ton of sense to go paperless and make it simple. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Susan. She's going to take us through a Seed delivery demo.
Okay. Are you going to, let's see, I need to show my screen. Adrian, is that something you?
I can do that. And you are now the presenter.
All right. Awesome. Okay. All right. So let me just pull up this here. Okay. So, there we go. Okay. So just want to, for this short demo, want to highlight 3 features from Seed. One that's particularly timely, and the other 2 which are relatively new functionality that I want to point out. So yeah, we're going to start talking about paperless invoicing first. And on the so when we talk about paperless invoicing, if you're already on Seed, it's really easy setup. Really, all that's required is to activate paperless invoicing is to add the customer email address either on the customer or location file, and then also to confirm that the invoice preference file is set to email and paper. Now that is the default, so unless you have changed it to paper, it will already be set up that way. What that will do is automate invoice delivery for day of delivery from when you're using the Seed mobile device. So once you're on, once you have that set up, what's going to happen is once the driver has already has verified his items and quantities, and he swiped them over to his pick tab, here on the screen is his option to go to invoice. So once he selects invoice, the suggestion would be to review the order with the recipient here. This is the order as the driver has picked. So once the recipient of the delivery verifies that everything is correct, he just goes up and driver just goes up here and clicks on sign, and comes up with the screen. So this screen is activated with by finger touch. So if we're going to collect that signature, the recipient just signs on it, accepts it, and then once the driver says done on his handheld, that will provide that saved signature for the invoice. It'll go up to Seed Web. It will also activate the sending of the invoice directly to the customer. So it's automated. Basically, the whole thing is automated. The second feature I wanted to talk about was Rollup invoicing, because this is a relatively new feature and has some great provides some great flexibility for your customers and for yourself. It has two main functions, really. One of them, which covers one of the problems we discussed earlier, when you have multiple deliveries, how to handle that invoicing, and I'm talking multiple deliveries on the same day, that's same customers by me. So this provides an option that allows the customer to sign just once for a location that has multiple delivery points. In order to, hang on here, let's see, where's my, okay. So that functionality is controlled by these two settings. So what I'm looking at is invoice period and also invoice preference. And these input fields are available on your customer, also your location, and also your delivery points. So depending on where in the hierarchy you want to make this choice, you can do that. So that provides you with a lot of flexibility. So on this scenario that we're talking about, hey, here's a customer that has multiple deliveries, and to make it convenient for them, so you don't have to, and for the driver, so he doesn't have to collect a signature on every single delivery. If you set the invoice by to location, but leave invoice period as a day of service, what will occur for the driver is when he tries to save that service, he is going to have this option of sign for location. Okay, so he can do all of his services there, and then just get that one signature at the very end. So that's kind of a nice nifty new feature. Now the other and very important ability that Rollup invoicing provides is the ability to invoice a customer on a weekly, bi-weekly, or on a monthly basis. So this is for customers that request to receive a single invoice at the end of a period, instead of having to manage and attend to receiving an emailed invoice for every single delivery. So some of your larger customers, you'd be throwing a lot of invoices at them, if you're doing it the original way, the automated invoice via the handheld. So what occurs with this is that it will create a master invoice, and each one of those invoices, as they are created by the driver or on Seed Web, if you're doing it in the office, they will just accumulate underneath the master. Now, the way to do that, again, is by the invoice by or the invoice period. And in this case, if we set it to invoice by customer, as I say, it could also be location. It could be on the delivery level if you want, and then control the period. So in this case, I just chose month. I want to show you the screens, how it looks like here, because since we are collecting those and we're going to wait until a defined end of period to send them out, the system has built in that it's going to alert you when you look at the invoice screen by letting you know that what invoices have reached the end of their period and are ready to be reviewed and sent to the customer. So you can see this highlighted message that I've done up here at the top, that we currently have one invoice that's closed and ready to be reviewed. Now, when you're looking on your invoice screen, you might not necessarily see them if you have a lot of invoices during the period you're looking at. So if you go to status here and change it to ready to review, then you are simply going to get the invoices, the master invoices that are in that state. So on this screen print, I clicked on the plus sign that would be sitting to the up to the left of the master. And by the way, you can identify that master with this MI for master invoice. And now you can see the individual invoices that are nested underneath it. So the idea would be the system's alerting you. It keeps track of it. It alerts you when it's ready to close. And you come on in here, say ready to review. You're able to quickly identify which ones are ready to be sent out. If you need to make changes, edits to an individual invoice, that's easy to do. I've got the second half of the screen sitting down here at the bottom, you see. You can go in and edit those individual invoices if need be. When you're ready to send it, then up here on the top line, the white line here is your send button, and that will go ahead, and if you're set up for email delivery, that'll go ahead and send out that email. Now the last, and I'm going to go live on my screen here for the last one to talk about real quickly about recurring orders, because we've always had recurring orders in delivery, but we've got some additional features to them now. Let me go live here. Okay, so under delivery, I'm going to go to my a delivery point that I've set up a couple recurring orders here for you to show you that now the system does allow for multiple recurring orders. So that gives you a lot more flexibility. Recurring orders are orders, they can be set up for charges, for fees, anything that is a non-inventory type product. So what they can be used for is for setting up automated invoicing for, say, water rentals. Also, we can set up services like a filter change on an automated schedule. So the first one, I'm going to look at this real quick. The first one I set up here would be for the first example, the water cooler rental. So when you're setting this up, what you need to do is, hang on, I didn't mean to go, my apologies. I didn't mean to go into the order itself. I meant to go into, look at the actual recurring order. So going to recurring order here. So here's my recurring order. And this allows me to show you the settings. So for recurring order, you're going to have options of repeating in different date ranges. This is an example, once a month. This is a once a monthly charge. Okay. You can also do things daily, weekly, by year. Set a schedule date for it for the next time we want to start it. This one's set for November because it's already automatically set the October, so that's going to be my next scheduled date. Don't need an end date unless this is a defined period of time for this order. To automate it, you want to have it selected, marked, delivered on delivery date. Although you have options to mark it yourself, which would be manually, or when a service ticket is pulled. This actually refers to the second scenario, so you can kind of not think about that right now. If we want to automate it, we want it marked delivered on the delivery date. Hang on a sec, let me scroll down here so you can see everything else here. Okay. Based upon this, it will create that order in advance, however many days you choose. And this is where you would enter your product. Okay, so this is my water cooler example. The other example is going to feature something new we built in here. So this one is for purposes where not only am I creating a order, let's see. Tell you what, I'm going to start a new one here. Let me add a new one here. Okay. So let's have this scenario that, let's say we want to change out our filter, water filter every once a quarter. Okay, so I'm going to do every 3 months. We're going to say, all right, we're going to start it on We're going to start it next month. I'm not going to have an end date. Yes, I want to mark it delivered on delivery date, or actually in this case, you know what? I'm going to say yes, let's mark it delivered when the service ticket is closed. That would make more sense because I'm actually going to assign this to a service ticket so that we can use dispatch to have your service techs to do this functionality as opposed to your route driver if you prefer. So creating this, I need to give it a description. Optional contact information. I can, anyone who's set up as a service tech. So what you can do, if you want your service techs to be responsible for these types of changes, they will already be on the list. If you want your route drivers to be able to do this, you just need to add service tech to them as part of their user permissions. So if in this case, I'm going to always assign this. I have an option to display it. When this service has been accomplished, it will then show up on an invoice or not. Just depends on if you want to let your customer know. It's kind of a nice feature to let your customer know what's going on here. Okay. Okay, filter. In this case, I don't have a price associated with that. The price on these types of items comes from the unit cost field under the item file. So you can set it up with no price, or it can be set with a price. Okay. So that's going to create so like I say, that's going to create a recurring, not only a recurring order, it's going to create a service ticket that will show up in dispatch. And if I've assigned it, assigned it specifically there, it is going to always show up assigned to the particular service tech I have. If I don't assign it, it'll just show up here on the left and allow you to assign it to someone. Okay. All right, so those are my my 3 little mini demos that I wanted to show you, and that completes the demo portion. Adrian or Alex, you get to continue the recap, right? Let me okay, there you go. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, Susan. Yeah, so I'll just take a couple minutes and recap what we've talked about here, and then we'll get into some questions. So just kind of to highlight here. So I think the first piece here is, lean on the tools that you have to make operating easier. I mean, certainly during this time, but just in general, I think that's really good advice. But there's certain tools and features that the software already offers. But to go beyond that, add on some of the benefits that Duncan talked about, maybe about training, updating your team, adding in customer protocols. I think those are really good pieces of advice. If you're not on paperless billing, it's something that you ought to consider, improving efficiency, minimizing physical interaction with customers, and just making life a little bit easier. Second main point here is just over communicate with your customers. Make sure they know the steps that you're taking to keep their employees safe, whether it's through sanitation or cleaning or different protocols. Considering adding signage in break rooms, that machines have been cleaned and updated, or frequency on cleaning. Those are some important things too. And just as Duncan had mentioned, it's their location, their rules. So make sure what's changed at your customers' locations and abide by those rules to keep them happy. And then the last thing is, we talked about several opportunities that may be new in this new COVID world, but think outside the box, look outside the box, look for opportunities to partner, whether you're partnering with key customers on maybe helping them bring their employees back, or offering their employees a major benefit while they're there at work, are key. But is there an opportunity to market existing products at a discount, help move through some inventory, or could you even offer some new offerings through a discount program? But I think there's a bunch of different ways to leverage the opportunities that you have to make the most out of this crazy time until things start to come back. And again, I think everyone's confident that it will. So, with that, we can conclude this portion, and we can open up to Adrian to moderate some questions.
Awesome, thanks, Alex, and thanks for all of our presenters for really a great presentation. I thought there was some fantastic information shared. Maybe I'm a little bit biased because I'm just listening in, but really appreciate you all sharing your insight and telling us about what you guys have seen. So yeah, like Alex said, we're going to be opening up for some questions. So like I said in the beginning of the presentation, if you have any questions for our presenters today, in the right-hand side of the GoToWebinar control panel, there'll be a questions drop-down menu. You open that, there'll be a box there that you can enter in your questions that you might have for them today. So I'm going to start things off by reading through the first ones that we have here, which is for Duncan. Are you currently offering the touchless delivery for all your clients?
Yes, it's something we've kind of communicated to all of our clients that are open, ones that aren't open. I mean, it's been emailed to contacts, we've called contacts, let them know that's an option, a service we provide. So short answer, yes.
All right, good to hear. And another question, I think it's back towards the beginning of the presentation. You mentioned that markets have come back faster than vending and the OCS. Why do you think that is?
I think for our business, the makeup, we have a lot of vending that's at colleges and universities. It hasn't come back. Also, public locations obviously has not come back yet. And I think the other piece of that I mentioned earlier on during the presentation was that I think once people are on site at their place of work, they're either being restricted to they can't leave or they don't want to leave, and are pushing more toward the market we have at the facility and seeing more traffic.
Got it. Awesome. Well, I guess a question also from myself, and I know this came up a bit in our previous discussion, but the role of the OCS operator as we see offices reopening. Do you think that or have you seen already any demand for people adding additional pantry, other types of services for when people are coming back out of the work from home environment? They're going to be wanting to have these office workers in a more comfortable spot. And so I'm curious to see if you have any direct experience in that, or also just curious in your mind whether you think this is something that could be happening.
We have not had any of that yet, but I do think that it's going to happen. You know, pre-COVID, there was a lot of pantry type services being offered. And, you know, in my opinion, most employers are trying to get their feet underneath of them to what their office is going to look like as far as employment, employees, how it's laid out, you know, with a post-COVID office setup. And there will be benefit offered to employees, pantry stuff offered to employees, but we have not seen any of that yet.
Well, it certainly will be interesting as we see everything progress along, whether we're looking at, you know, a vaccine or any rapid testing kits, of how everything will progress. And I think I'll end it on your last comment before, is that, you know, we're looking at this day to day, and, you know, it seems like almost each week, month, day is offering something new, and whether in the form of new hurdles to conquer or new things to take advantage of. And I think that's a great way and great mindset to have. It's just, you know, keep looking for those new things. So it's a good spot to end it there. Presenters, thank you so much for being here with us. Really appreciate you taking the time. And for everyone else, I hope you guys really enjoyed what we did today. A quick note, we are now doing a quick survey right at the end of our presentation. This helps us a lot of us gauging what you all are interested in, what you folks want to talk about, what kind of people that you would like to have us brought in to really share their insights and their comments. So it takes 1 minute, it's only a couple of questions, but it really helps us, you know, deliver something that we think is useful for everybody else. So with that, last thank you to our presenters, and I hope everyone else has a great rest of their week.
Thanks, Adrian.